Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unscripted Violence Pro Wrestling Talk, your premier broadcast for the Indies. I'm Stagger Lee, and I am joined by Mr. Jagger Lane, which we are very excited to have you on. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on, Stagger. I appreciate it. Stagger and Jagger actually rhyme.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that. Could make a tag team.
Oh yeah, big tag team. Especially now that I got more gear coming. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, nice. I thought it was really cool looking.
It's all custom made from Mexico,
Well,
man. It's off the hook.
that's way cool. So, I guess we'll start the interview because what listeners might not know is I tried interviewing you a while ago and we were having some technical issues. But kind of walk us through like your starting off in the business and what prompted you to start in the business
Okay, so I started in
and how.
1999. I was trained by a man named Steve Gatorwolf and another guy by the name of James Iona, who's an Islander. They're both from WWE, well, WWF back in the day. And then James Iona was
Right.
also one of the guys that were in the power plant for WCW.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
And then
awesome.
I got to do stuff with like
And
Mike Knox, John Cena. I mean, list goes on. First ever show that
that
I
is
was
way
on
awesome.
was with John Cena, and he was actually named Prototype. And I had no idea who Prototype was at the time. And come to find out, he ended up getting signed to WWE, and boom, a week later, he was John Cena.
Wow. So is that prior to his OVW then?
Yeah, well, he left OVW afterwards, and then he was doing a bunch of indie stuff, and then he got signed to WWE. His last show was in Cedar City, Utah.
Really?
Yeah, so it was a pretty
That's
cool
awesome.
experience. Got to work with
Yeah,
him, train in the
definitely.
ring with him. It was fun.
And how is he back then in the ring?
Dude, he was
Did he have
amazing. He
room
was
for
humble,
improvement?
very humble, gave a lot of skills to what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I mean, he would teach us just different aspects of being in the business and just where we had to be. Ring placement, something that a lot of talent doesn't do anymore, so or was never trained properly to do. So he did teach us the ring placement, which if you look at a lot of the wrestling, not a lot of matches have ring placement when they're countering the moves.
Right.
And then a lot of them just stop telling a story because everybody just wants to go out there and just throw in their spot after spot after spot. And there's no storyline and the crowd just dies. They don't want that. They want a story. They want something that, they can engage to.
Exactly. And, that is one of I guess, one of the biggest criticisms I've had about the independents is, and I don't know, you would know a lot more since you're so experienced. But it seems like with some indie matches, it's just spot after spot after spot, and really nothing to do with a story being told in the ring, which I think is probably the most important thing.
And I mean, another thing is you got to listen to your audience and give the audience what they want. You might know what you already planned in the back and everything like that, but the moment that you go out there, listen to your audience because at any point the things can change. And I mean, if you listen to the audience, engage with the audience, your crowd's going to get bigger. Fans are going to notice you more. You're going to end up making a story that they can follow the journey on.
Exactly. So out of all the places you've been all over the world, um,
I've
out of
been to a
all.
lot of places.
Yeah, Uh,
I just got
so,
offered to go
at,
to New Zealand.
really,
Yeah,
that's amazing. I'd take it. I'd go down there.
it's actually in the talks, so we'll see what happens. As for a promotion, we'll discuss that more often in private.
Okay,
We just don't
sounds
want to
good.
leak too much, and then what happens.
Yeah, I don't want you getting any heat over it or anything. So, tell us, uh, after you've been through training and everything, when was your like quote unquote big break on the wrestling scene? Would you say?
So when I first started, I had to train outside the ring. Nowadays, most people get to train in a ring and get to do a lot of stuff. So before I even got to even have my show, I mean, I was training outside the ring the whole time. And then a year later, right after I started, I ended up getting the opportunity to hop in the ring. The only time that I was allowed to hop in the ring was to run the ropes or to bump. Other than that, I mean, I was trained straight old school. So my first show ever was with John Cena on the card, which was awesome and a great experience. But I mean, if I ever had to say what was my biggest break, I would say the opportunity where I got to be a part of Impact Wrestling when it was Impact Wrestling before they switched back to TNA. And then getting the opportunity to travel with Hulk Hogan's Micro Championship Wrestling and getting the opportunity to be on the road with Pat Tanaka and Johnny Green from WCW, which was Johnny Attitude. So, I mean, I got to learn so much and then get to say that Hulk Hogan was my boss.
Yeah, that's way awesome. So, the micro wrestling was that little people or
Yeah, that
what?
was midgets, that was dwarfs. So I got
Oh,
to
okay,
do True TV with them and travel and everything. It was fun. It was a great experience.
that's way awesome. So speaking of all the places you've been, do you have a favorite territory or promotion that you like working with, or one that you work with more than any others?
I love Florida just because I love how beautiful it is out there and I fell in love. But since I've been doing the lucha, I've been falling in love more with my culture. So I've been doing a lot more lucha. And I mean, if I had to just pick a promotion, I couldn't pick because all of them are different. So no matter where you go, you're going to learn something new, whether it's good or bad. And it's just going to pave you to be a stronger person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As far as independent wrestling goes, and you've been on the scene quite some time, has it? I don't know. Has it gotten better or worse, or what would your assessment of pretty much the near future of independent pro wrestling be?
So, I mean, it just depends on the location. That's the main thing because certain cities they have great promotions where a lot of promotions are always on the go and a lot of other promotions are just not as functional. So it just depends on the city and location really. I mean, I really can't pick and choose because every location's different.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Have you noticed anything like an increase in the number of fans coming?
So the more the audience engages and more that people get to know more about the business, I mean, you'll see a larger crowd, but also during certain holidays, certain seasons, you won't see as much just because everybody's so busy doing that. So I do feel around November through December, it's kind of like a dead, but sometimes you do see a big crowd. It just depends, like I said, on the promotion, how you promote, how your talent is, how your talent's promoting, if you're flyering enough, if you're getting out there and spreading the word. I mean, you don't want to do it too much where people are just not going to be interested, but you want to give it to them weekly so they're actually seeing it and like broadcasting about it, but not broadcasting about it too much that you're going to overkill what you're bringing to the table, if you kind of get that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You basically don't want to shove it down people's throats.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, one thing I wanted to talk to you about is you're in the PWI top 500, are you not?
I believe so. Last time I looked, I was. But I mean, I was also on Hispanic Heritage Month as well. So I got told that it was in the magazine from the guy that does everything. So yeah,
Awesome. As
I
far
just feel
as
honored.
your, yeah, that sounds way cool. As far as your in ring persona, how do you develop that? Are you more of a baby face, or you more of a heel, or what is your overall character
So I'm a
development?
face, I'm a fan favorite. No matter where I go, people just draw to me for some odd reason. Whether I was in Washington, Colorado, wherever I'm at, people just go crazy. I don't know why. Maybe it's the outfit, maybe it's the look. I mean, I just have a persona where I just engage to people and I'm very humble to everybody, no matter who they are. And I mean, I reach out to people and tell them thank you for coming to the show. I appreciate everybody that does, get there and get back home safely because without them, there's no us. And that's what a lot of talent just don't understand. And they'll never understand that because the fans is who makes us. We don't make us. We go out there, we perform, we do everything and put our bodies on the line and everything for that. But I mean, if it's not for the fans coming to the show, there would never be a Jagger Lane. There would never be no John Cena. There would never be Brutus the Barber Beefcake. There would never be a Hulk Hogan. There would never be a Stagger doing an interview with me. I mean, if it's not for these people engaging to us to see what we're about, there wouldn't be any of us. So we got to give thanks to them for coming in and supporting us and doing what they do, because without them, there's no us.
That's terrific, and I really like how appreciative you are of all the fans and everything like that. Because I'm not saying like a lot of wrestlers out there, but there are a number of wrestlers that kind of lose sight of that, and I don't know why.
I have no idea. I mean, everybody in this business is different. Everybody thinks that they're a vet. Everybody thinks that they're, newbies, whatever they are. But the crazy thing is, you're going to learn something from somebody no matter what, whether you're a newbie, whether you're a vet. And I mean, people just don't understand. And I mean, you can go to another promotion, they'll be like, oh, so you're a vet. They're not really going to care because the business has changed way too much where everybody has their egos and thinks that they're better than everybody.
Right,
And I
that
mean,
makes a
like,
lot of
also when I was doing a seminar with, I can't remember his name, but he was also telling me that um, it doesn't matter what number you are on the card because you at least engage to the promoter that you're talented, so you're able to be on the card. So it doesn't matter if you're a mid card, not a mid card. But he was also telling me the opener is the best match ever because it takes the opener to lead the show. If it wasn't for the opener, there wouldn't be no show. There wouldn't be no main event.
right. And yeah, I can see that, and I have been to shows where if the first match isn't that great, it seems like there's no momentum leading up to the main events.
Yep. And then the other match has to work even harder. Or if that one's sloppy, then, the audience starts slowly pulling away. I mean, another thing that
Right.
I've noticed too is a lot of people just come to the shows just to watch one person. And then once that one person is done performing, the audience leaves. And it's like, if you love wrestling and you love WWE, AEW, New Japan, I mean, whatever it is out there that you're watching, why are you not staying there to watch other people perform? Because you honestly don't know what you have in front of you. Because tomorrow or the next day or next week or a minute from now, that performer that you missed could be signed.
Yes. And kind of switching gears here, you do both singles and tag wrestling.
Yeah,
Which do you,
I have a tag match coming up, so I'm pretty
and,
excited about it.
and tell us about that? Because I guess your opponent was kind of a surprise to people.
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine named Tombstone Jesus. I mean, you guys should definitely check him out. He's a really good guy. Does mountain metal, and I mean, if you ever interview him, you'll hear his stories like no other. I mean, the guy's amazing. So, good friend of mine and everything like that. Definitely love that man. So glad to have him on my side.
And just to let the listeners and fans know, what we're talking about is an upcoming show. It's in South Jordan, I believe.
South
Is it
Jordan
South
Community
Jordan?
Center.
South Jordan Community Center, and that is on the 11th of January of next year, of course. Um, how are you preparing yourself for this event?
Just been training, working out. I mean, doing everything that I need to do, staying busy, doing a lot of lucha shows off and on, you know.
Makes sense. And just briefly tell us, what is your training like? What how do you train personally that might set you apart from others, or that makes your performance that much better?
So my ring training is when I train with the lucha guys and do a lot of like just crazy stuff that they do. And then my outer training, I go to the gym. I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning and go work out. So like my workout training is completely brutal. I mean, I'm doing like tough failure or I'm doing like 20 sets or it just depends on whether I'm doing chest or back. I'm going until failure. I'm doing reps like crazy. So
Right, and I mean that takes a lot of dedication in itself. Just incidentally, this is just out of curiosity. I like to ask everybody this: uh, do you find that you have better results training that early in the morning, getting up, going at it at 4 a.m.?
I hate it, but I love it at the same time. So like I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and my body's like weak, but once I get into it, I mean, I'm just gone. And I mean, as long as I'm listening to music, I'm in the zone and I'm just gone. But I mean, I like I said, I push myself to the limits. I mean, if we ever had a workout, you would literally just be like, Jesus Christ.
It's been quite a bit since I worked out like that, but I did train. I trained early in the morning like that too, and I am not a happy person when I wake up. But I did notice that because I would try it sometimes in the evenings. I did notice that, I mean, my attitude would change really quick just once I got into the workout.
You become a better person, more humble. I mean, you get to appreciate life. You get to see what you're actually going for. You know, a lot of people just don't do that. So life is just chaos, you know? Like the other day, I had some guy just honking at me, honking at me, honking at me, and flipping me off. And I'm just like waving at him and I'm just smiling away. And he followed me, and I was just like, okay. I really don't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, you got to appreciate life. You got to appreciate what you have and appreciate everybody around you, man, because there's moments like this that will never happen again. And I mean, there's somebody out there that I could be saying something and there'll be great advice that they could take on to the next generation. So, I mean, everything just be humble for.
Great words of advice and wisdom there. Uh, Now, do you prefer singles competition or tag team competition? Is there one that you like better than the other?
I love singles just because I can do more and I can tell a story better and I don't have to worry about anybody else. But I mean, when I do have a tag team, I enjoy because the crowd gets into it. So it helps whether I'm helping my opponent or whether I'm helping my tag team partner to get over more so the fans can engage with them more. So if you look at the business, that's the reason why there's tag teams and, singles matches. Because, I mean, a lot of people are working to help their opponent get over more. I mean, I've worked with guys that have never had any experience in the ring and I've gotten them over and they're just like, oh my God.
And I bet it's much appreciated too, um, when they get put over by you, or you give them that boost.
It's fun.
Do you have any opponents, like dream opponents, you would like to work with?
The two guys I would love to work with have passed away. But I mean,
Uh,
don't let me get you wrong. I still watch their stuff. I still study it. I still do their stuff and everything like that. I would say Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, one of the all-time idols. I mean,
yes.
you would learn everything from him. I mean, even Ravishing Rick Rude learned tons of stuff. If you ever watch a Ravishing Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect met, Mr. Perfect would carry him. Or the most talented guy that the world still doesn't acknowledge, which I wish they would, Owen Hart.
Yes.
One of the most talented workers that the business had no idea what to do with, and they just kept on pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. But the guy was so talented and could get over. The guy
Yeah,
could
and
work
it
like a
seemed
lucha guy and not like a lucha guy. He had everything.
that's very true, and it seems like whatever, I don't know if they were ribbing him or not. If you had to be the blue blazer or uh, a different persona, it seems like he would just instantly adapt to it.
I mean, what most people don't understand is I get told all the time, "What do you always have pink on your tights?" Or "Why do you have pink?" You know, and it's a tribute. It's a tribute to the Hart Foundation because I love Owen Hart. I've always had respect for Owen Hart, but also most people don't know I love the color pink. So it's one of my favorite colors, just because nobody uses that in any of their outfits. And then also Mr. Perfect, you'd also see him in a pink, bright orange outfit or just colorful as well, just like Owen Hart would. And then you would watch their matches and you were drawn. There was not one time that you would ever pull away. I mean, you would watch Big Diesel and Shawn Michaels, and sometimes you would pull away. And then most people like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, this guy, that guy. And it's like they're very talented, don't get me wrong. But if you actually watch something, you're going to draw into an Owen Hart match because he's going to be telling you a story. You're going to watch, and the way he worked also, or you're going to see what Kurt Hennig would do in the ring and how he sold so beautiful to get over his opponent. Something that Owen Hart did constantly too. And I mean, you go watch like Shawn Michaels, he did that great. But I mean, you would see certain pinpoints where it wasn't drawn the way it was. with him and Bret Hart. Bret Hart took over more of the match, but it was a beautiful match. But I mean, like,
Yes.
if you get a moment, watch an Owen Hart match, watch Mr. Perfect match, and see what I'm telling you about.
Yeah, and both are excellent. Um, my lady, she didn't know much about Owen Hart, and we were watching the Vince McMahon documentary
That was pretty
on
interesting.
Netflix. It was, and
It wasn't what I
she didn't know
expected.
what. Yeah, it wasn't me either. One thing uh, about the Owen Hart situation is them continuing the show after the accident happened. Um, how do you feel about that? I think they should have stopped the show personally.
In all reality, back in the day, I would have stopped the show. With everything going on nowadays, like if you look at it, when Rey Mysterio did the 619 and that luchador passed away as well, they continued the show too. So, I mean, the business is the business, but it's also, it made the business for what it is today. But I mean, if you look at it, it's all about money. It's all about where they're going to go next or how they're going to draw or what's going to happen next. I mean, if I make it, great. And if I don't, whatever. It's just, I'm enjoying what I'm enjoying because when I was 7 years old, I said I was going to be a pro wrestler. I'm living out my dream. I'm enjoying every moment that I have. And if I get my big break, awesome. I mean, I've been scouted by WWE, I've been scouted by TNA, and I appreciate the opportunities that they've both given me just for scouting me out. But I mean, like, if you get your moment and you get your shot, awesome. But what most people don't understand is there is so many workers out there and wrestlers, whatever you want to call yourself, worker, wrestler. But I mean, there's so many people out there with talent. And I've seen people just get pushed aside and them not even care. But now it's kind of weird that AEW, TNA, WWE are out scouting out the indie guys that have worked their butts off for years, and now they want us. It's
Yeah,
kind of weird, but they're only picking and choosing, and you have to go to a certain location, certain school, just for them to acknowledge you now. When you have the proper training and you have everything, and you've worked harder than most of these people to even get there. And I mean, I find it BS, but the business is the business. And there's ways in the business that most people don't understand is, oh, I bet you I can take you further if you do this for me. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been offered, oh, I can get you a contract with this if you do this. And I'm like, sorry, man, I love this business, but I don't swing that way. And I mean, you're
and
the
that,
first to actually know that story. I've always told that story to people, but I've never actually aired that story where I actually got offered several times to get pushed and to go places if I did certain things. And I mean, I'm not going to bow down and get on my knees just to get a push somewhere because in this business, there's a thing and a quote that they don't mention anymore, and it's called the big push. The moment you get that big push, it opens up opportunities for you. I'm going to open up my opportunity the way I've been opening up my opportunity. And like I said, if I get the opportunity to go somewhere, awesome. If not, I'm living out my dream. I'm wrestling and I'm doing what I love.
and that is the most important part. And when I watch you in ring, it definitely shows. There are some wrestlers that are in this for the fame or the money, and really don't have the heart in it. And that's one of the reasons why I cover the indies exclusively is because of that heart and that soul to it and the desire to entertain and to be a part of the great world of pro wrestling
Just what
and
you're
what it
saying right
is.
there. I've had people tell me all the time, why aren't you signed? Why don't you have an opportunity? Why haven't they opened up their doors to you? You have everything that they're looking for. Even when I did the WWE tryout, the guy's like, man, that was beautiful. You just have to, lose some weight. And that's all I ever get told. But I mean, like, what happens if I lose the weight? Are you still going to give me my shot? Who knows? We'll see. I just got to push myself even harder.
Right. And yeah, that the weight thing that's kind of ridiculous. No, I have nothing against the guy. I respect everything he's done for the business. But Jim Cornette one time was talking about Kevin Owens back when he was Kevin Steen and how they actually put in his contract he had to be a certain weight,
Yeah.
and if he went above that weight, there was like a fine or some type of consequence to it, which I just thought was ridiculous.
But the funny thing is, here's a name that's going to draw you and make you think. How come they never said anything about Yokozuna
Yes, exactly.
or Tugboat or Hurricane? So many people out there.
Yes, and that's another interesting point is body types. And WWE is completely guilty of this for going for that perfect mold, that body type that they have. Um, I've seen it change slightly. Do you think that there? I mean that there is still a bias as far as body type and getting looked at by the bigger promotions.
There is. But I mean, on top of it, look at half the roster where half of them are out of shape, and you still want to criticize the guys from the indies that you're trying to draw to your screen. I
Very
mean,
true.
there's guys in the indies that have a bigger draw and that never even want to even step in the WWE. This promotion that I got offered to from New Zealand, I mean, there's ways to get in the business. Like they train guys to go to WWE. And I mean, like I said, they're in the talks. They told me to come down whenever I want, but New Zealand's pretty far. So, I mean, we'll have to talk about that.
Yes, that is quite a trek to go down there. Um, so tell me, speaking of the traveling and everything, um, what's the furthest you've ever had to travel for a show?
uh, I don't even know if I'm going to remember this because there's been so many, and some of them are just like I sleep during some of them. So I'm just like, yeah. I know when I went to Arizona, I just kept on falling asleep because it was the most boring ride ever.
That is a boring drive. I've done it before.
So I mean, I'll probably have to say Arizona, but I know that's not it. I mean, when I was like going to Florida, Mississippi, and everywhere else, I was having fun because I got to see the sights. I got to be with like Pat Tanaka. I got to be with Johnny. I got to learn stuff. I got to interact and everything, and just be around so many talented people where I was always listening.
And now, being in Salt Lake City, Utah, have you noticed more support happening here over the past few years? Less? What's your opinion of the Salt Lake crowd? And I know
So
crowds are very.
I've noticed that the crowd is engaging more to the business, but most people don't know they're in Salt Lake. I'm down further, so I'm in like Utah County, so I'm like
Okay.
way outer. But I mean, where I'm at, which is Provo, um, the crazy thing is there's so many people that ask for pro wrestling down here, and when there is pro wrestling down here, it goes crazy. People engage to it. People just draw to it because they don't see it. And I mean, one thing that we used to do back in the day when Steve Gator Wolf was around and everything like that, we would travel to Vernal. We would travel to, you know, Park City. We would travel to just different little areas like there were territories, and we'd put on a show. And there was people that were going crazy over it. I remember when we did a show in like I think it was Santaquin or Payson, and people went nuts. It's just because they never see it. And the more that you see it, they engage. Because I mean, I hear people all the time, they're always like, I wish there was wrestling here. And then when I put up a flyer, they're just like, wow. Or when I'm in the gym, people are always asking me, dude, when's your next wrestling show? And I'm like, oh, it's in Salt Lake. And they're like, I really don't want to go to Salt Lake. But when I tell them that, the lucha guys are doing a show here, man, they go crazy. They get hooked.
And that's an awesome thing. I was quite surprised. I guess I want to say about 10 years ago, going to indie shows, I mean, it was kind of sad. There wasn't a lot of support. But recently, going to a few shows, I do notice a few new fans. And I don't know, I do notice a little bit more excitement about it. And that gets me excited because, I mean, I love independent wrestling. So, who you're wrestling with? The promotion you're wrestling with is STF, correct? Excellent. Um, there's a local guy I saw you wrestling. He happens to be one of my favorite personas in Utah, Princess Deathwish. Yeah, he's pretty awesome, and I love his break. Oh, is it? Oh, I would love to. I'd absolutely love to interview him. I saw him 2 years ago. I don't know. I loved the gimmick. I loved his way of carrying himself. He had this sort of valet that was like kind of his bitch type of thing. So yeah, I'd love to try and get him on. Um, yeah, and like your guys' match was really. I mean, it was excellent to watch. I caught it on. Really. Well, like it did really well for being so sick in that match because that did stick out in my head in watching your matches. Okay, so we have STF, we have the Lucha Project. Um, where can our listeners and our fans find you? What's the best place to look? I would say, or some of your online info. Where can they see more of Jagger Lane? Excellent. Yeah, I'm trying to. My lady is trying to get me into Twitter or X right now, and that one's been kind of tough going to network on. But yeah, exactly. I'm still trying to understand it. Did you hear about they're banning it, or you're not going to be able to? Excellent. Tell us a little bit more about your upcoming shows. That we, Excellent, and I encourage everybody to that if you haven't seen Jagger Lane, take some time out, look him up. I found you on YouTube, a couple places there. Uh, it's definitely he's definitely worth watching and a great talent. And I can't say enough good things about you. I yeah, yeah. And this goes for the bigger promotions. Like I especially would love to see you in AEW because I think they have a little bit more creative freedom there, a little bit more. Yeah, and it's really hard to tell what's going to impress a certain individual, a scout or anything, versus someone else, what they're really looking for. Because I've noticed it is a very fickle industry as far as that. Wow, that's that's something to think about. Definitely. Well, right. Well, Jagger, I want to let you know what a pleasure it's been having you on. And you and I have been talking. You'll probably be on quite a few more times. Um, yeah, thanks. Yeah, happy holidays to you as well. This is the last show of the year. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you and your family as well. And I'm just going to let everybody know you can find us on YouTube at Unscripted Violence Media. We just talked about Twitter or X. It's Wrestling Talk STG. You can find Stagger Lee on Facebook and also Unscripted Violence Pro Wrestling Talk group. Please join it. Please like us, subscribe to us. We appreciate every single one of you. Uh, and Jagger, once again, thank you for coming on. And until next time, everybody, remember to always, always, always keep wrestling in your heart. Good night.